Welcome back. Well, rapists are roaming free. A civil rights group is warning that rape victims are being denied justice due to a DNA backlog. Action Society wants private laboratories to be appointed to help process DNA evidence. It's believed the backlog is affecting over 100,000 cases. Well, for more on this and to tell us how bad the situation is, we joined via Skype now by Daleen Gouws from Action Society. Ms. Gouws, good morning. That's really not a good thing to hear of this backlog. Do you have an idea why such a backlog?
Thank you and good morning to all our viewers as well. Yes, due to not keeping important and sensitive machinery maintained and due to no consumables as well as overall maintenance, we have more than 92% of the 125 cases which are sexual assault kits that have not been processed. And that is the main and a huge problem for us.
Now, the impact is that if that is not processed and there's this huge backlog, victims or survivors of sexual assault are then left hanging because I'm sure some of them give up along the way when they try to get prosecution underway.
Exactly. With our call for self-managed labs and special sexual offence courts, we also include that due to a lack of faith in the system, extensive lawsuits, which often results in dockets being lost or witnesses becoming unfit to testify, victims hesitate to report these crimes.
Now, if there's no proper management and no proper maintenance of what you call the imported material, diagnostics and machinery, it speaks to a level of gross mismanagement. Would I be correct in interpreting it like that?
Yes, you are definitely correct. And also, we do believe that legislation on procurement and employment should no longer affect the lives of vulnerable citizens. We believe that it is time to clean up the offices of the National Forensic Laboratories and get rid of ineffective officials.
Now, you're making a call on government to use now private labs, plus now you're calling on government to get rid of those incompetent officials. Any response you've had from the relevant authorities?
No, we haven't had any responses, but we will not stop fighting to make sure that the most vulnerable people in our societies get the proper help that they need, especially if we look at children younger than 7 years, as well as people with disabilities who are not able to properly communicate what happened to them during a sexual offense. We do believe that it's really, really important for these cases and assault kits to be processed to make the whole process of a prosecution easier and for victims not to be being in courts that's not properly assisted to assist them in this process.
Yeah. Who are you engaging with in government? Who's responsible for this? We do know that prosecutors, of course, would rely heavily on DNA evidence when they are dealing with sexual assault cases.
Yes, that is correct. So we are we have spoken to the Ethics Board of the National Forensic Oversight and Ethics Board, as well as other role players. We haven't heard much, and we will keep on trying to get results, especially from prosecutors, etc., to see if we can implement these sexual offences courts, specifically only for sexual offences, as well as self-management testing labs, where we can use private detectives in order to fast-track findings and verify DNA information. We believe that it's totally possible to use private organizations like ourselves to help with the management. We are here to help and assist government with the management of these problems.
Now, besides talking to us, besides issuing statements and putting more pressure publicly, what else can you realistically do next now, if you don't mind sharing that with us, Ms. Gouws, so that your demands can be addressed?
we will see how what the reactions is that we do get from these different departments, but we are in the process of speaking to our lawyers to see what we can put in place in a more formal manner, even if we have to go to court, to make sure that these victims nationwide of sexual offences get help. We really have stories that will make your hair rise. If you listen to children being through the process of through the whole court process, and it's not nice for children, especially children younger than 7 years old. So we will do everything that is possible, and if need to be, we will definitely go to the courts.
Yeah, I think NICE is a software. It must be very traumatic for those children and other survivors of sexual assault. Thank you very much, Ms. Gouws, for your time. Not looking good, and now calling on government to consider using private laboratories in terms of gathering that much needed DNA evidence in sexual assault cases. I mean,